makes me want to be a better writer. I couldn't agree more. When Abby moved here from Georgia, she found that most reading series were either all open mic or all featured author or contained on a college campus. She modeled the Colorado Springs Writers Reading Series after the series at Columbus State University. Abby stated that the looks on people's faces after they read a poem aloud or heard an instructor read a poem was powerful. She made the CSWRS series happen. However, writers don't only attend the series to share their work and listen to that of others. Abby's part of the appeal. She's been a driving force in the literary community in Colorado Springs, and New York is pretty darn lucky. So please help me welcome our own Abby.
Thank you. Been doing this for like 2.5 years, and I'm the only one that got a standing ovation. I'm leaving. It's because I'm leaving. I'm leaving in the end of July, so this is kind of bittersweet. I'm really excited to be reading, and I'm really excited to be here, but at the same time, for like the past 48 hours, I've been really sad that I'm going to be leaving this. Mostly because I'm really excited to start my PhD. I think I'm still in shock that I'm going to get paid to do so. I'm really excited, but it's scary to go from a community that the literary community here has embraced me so warmly. Maybe not at first, but we got there. And like, it's been so warm and so welcoming, and you guys are so important to me. That it's going to make it all that much harder to be unpacking boxes by myself in a community where I don't know anybody yet. And I don't know where the good pizza is. It's like the first thing, Target and Taylor pizza. So it's going to be really weird to not have that. Everybody knows here by now, I think, what a stickler on time I am, so I'm going to be watching myself. So I have a bunch of poems I want to read. I'm going to read from my new book, Quick Draw, which I think people are like, oh, I have till August to get it because it's not actually shipped until August 10th. But you are mistaken. Next Friday, June 15th, is the end of my advanced sales period. Every copy sold before then determines the press run. So I've been trying to get businesses and individuals to buy copies of the book. It's only $12 a piece, which is pretty nice. The incentive that the publisher gave me is that it's only $1.99 shipping before the 15th. So if you order, my thanks to you. If I still lived here, I would hug you. I'm kind of a huggy person in the literary community, I guess. So I have a couple of poems from Quick Draw, and I also have some new work and some old work that wasn't in my first chapbook. So I always tell my students to be brave at readings, to read something that's new. And I don't mean that you should be careless, that you should be reckless with your work, but you should be brave, and something doesn't have to be perfect in order to connect with someone and communicate with others. So this is new. I think it was a couple of days ago that I started working on this. This is called Alcove. Your third time at war is sometimes an alcove, where I can sit and watch the yard grow without smelling moss, or thick gutter water, or the ridiculous yellow squash blossoms billowing like old grocery bags. Now this room is my own. I can hear creatures you once said never spoke. A moth dying in the narrow space between two panes of a window. Mice planning kitchen raids behind the wallpaper. A brown spider who makes the sound of shoulders being rained on. I gently unfasten those primitive snaps that keep me inside this body. Those nearly invisible hooks and eyes running down my spine. the longer you are gone, the better I get at folding my arms up to dress and undress, pulling zippers, unclasping bracelets one-handed. I leave my body at the table and move around the house like moonlight, there and not there, a light not bright enough to read by. In the alcove where it is impossible for you to visit, I watch without eyes as the yard drinks up more than is good for it. There's a book of Neruda poems on the yellow end table, and inside 1,000 promises sleep with their mouths open. I can read all night and still feel square-shaped. My poor body slumped at the table like she's fallen asleep over tea. If I go back to her, it is only because I pity her, because I don't want to leave her alone inside her empty house. And then I thought I would read a titled poem from the chapbook. And this was actually, unfortunately, inspired by actual events that happened in Columbus right before I moved out here to Colorado. Quick draw. Inside sandblasted freight containers with wires strung in loops over their heads like electric vines on plastic branches. They pass time. They half-ass patrol reports. They make a bat from splintered plywood and play baseball with balled up sock. They play quick draw to see who can pull his pistol quickest from its sheath beneath the throat or the back pocket. They get drunk between deployments, fill themselves with cheap whiskey, and chase the train through small-town Georgia, each of them stumbling and rolling down the gravel slope, except one, who catches an iron ladder rung in his fist and tries to swing himself aboard. He kicks his legs beneath the well-oiled wheels and loses them right at the hip sockets. The night after, during surgery, the others sip coffee in the hospital lobby and wonder how a man tells his grandchildren he lost his legs outside the combat zone. It's difficult to know. Maybe they think this man shouldn't have children at all. Maybe he should find himself a matching legless girl. They go back to the desert without him and fidget in the medic's tent. They chuck syringes filled with water at a cork board with circles drawn on it in permanent marker. Thanks. It's always sad the one local. So this next poem, I've never read this at a reading before, mostly because I think it's kind of mean. But it's, okay, so being married to an officer or being married to maybe an enlisted to, I don't really understand a whole lot of military life. It's kind of sad. You go to military balls. They're basically like prom for grown-ups. And they're really awkward. At least for me, they're very awkward. We dress in prom dresses when we go to these things. And at every military ball, there's a fallen soldier's table. And they list off the symbolic items that are placed on this table. And everyone's very solemn, and we all look at the table, and then we eat our chicken. I don't know, vegetarian. Just another way to stick to the main. But I wrote this poem actually a long time ago, and I really want to start reading the poems that I started writing a long time ago. And by long, I mean like 6 years, which is a long time. This is called At a Military Ball, The Fallen Soldier's Table. What would he say if he were here, feet laced into those boots beside his chair? Not even my size, he'd say, pouring salt on the lemon with another man's hand. He wouldn't appreciate being sat by himself either. Guest of honor my ass, he'd say, tossing a rope of pink intestines onto the white tablecloth. I can see him clearly now, the fallen soldier, slouching at his table while we lift our glasses. If he could hear me, I'd say out loud, "You're dead as a doornail, scout, and whistling through the teeth you still got will get you better service." Nice tits, he'd say, as we, the wives, parade by, holding up our gowns to step over the empty boots. There's a lot of odd, I think the military life is kind of a subculture of its own, kind of living within every town that it's in, but particularly here, I guess. And I think it's because I've been here longer than anywhere else, 2.5 years, really seeing kind of Fort Carson, sort of living underground and overground, everybody else. And it seems like in times of war, civilian and military, more so than other times, really want to figure out how to help each other. And it becomes even more difficult for some reason to actually help each other. So it's a strange subculture. But all of the poems in Quick Draw aren't all about Tom and our relationship. I have some in there about my grandfather fought in Vietnam, and this poem is called Call to Prayer. A man in a tent in the desert cannot sleep because 1 mile away there is a sheik sitting in the garden behind his small stone house, listening to his daughters sing. The daughters hold white rose blooms in their palms like candles, petals going soft, turning silver. Their voices fill the stone house and all the desert too. The man in the tent would rather imagine these women than find them, and he pretends to know they wear white robes with silk sashes around their waists. To hear the daughters sing in the man's mind is to hear a song of defeat, each note sliding down and down, a weapon being lowered or a knife cutting down the body. To hear the daughters sing in the mind of the sheik is to hear vows recited in a hall of marble pillars. The sheik is peaceful and closes his eyes to listen. The man in the tent cannot sleep. He weeps. The daughters read one another's lips, pink tongues folded inside their mouths like bells in a